One of my most precious memories is not so much Valentine's Day, it's more of a birthday story when my wife surprised me under the ruse of going out to just shop and do dinner. She had made arrangements to have a weekend getaway at a local hotel for just the two of us.
20 years ago, when we first moved to Colorado Springs, it was a really tough time financially for us. We didn't have a lot of money, and we were actually really struggling. And so my husband wanted to do something special for Valentine's Day.
We were living in Louisville, Kentucky. My husband and I both were in school. We were poor, young, married. We had 3 kids, and I was pregnant with our 4th child. And he surprised me, didn't tell me where we were going, and I had a friend come by the house to keep the 3 kids.
And it was at a time in our lives when we had small children. She'd made arrangements for babysitting for the weekend, and we just had a very wonderful and special time, just the two of us, in a season in our life when it was really challenging to have isolated, concentrated time, just the two of us.
There was an experience after child number 3 at my house. We were 3 months into 3 kids, 3 and under, and there was just a disconnect, and we had been in California to visit family, and so my husband came back, a native San Diego, and just feeling really overwhelmed with the weather and the bleak winter in front of us.
My wife always makes a big deal about Valentine's Day.
So he saved money, scrimped his pennies together, and took me to a restaurant called Fratelli's. It was this really quaint spot, but he had shared with a friend of ours that he was taking us there. And when we arrived, unbeknownst to either of us, she'd put together a whole bag full of all these like Pamper Me type products, lotions, all of this kind of stuff.
He actually took me to a spa and dropped me off to have a maternity massage at the time, since I was expecting our 4th.
And I wasn't expecting much that Valentine's Day. I don't usually expect much, but he surprised me with this amazing fondue spread in our basement.
I felt so loved, so appreciated, so cared for, in that she would take the time and energy to do all that planning and put that together.
And I remember leaving that thinking, wow, he's really gonna have to live up to that one. It was an amazing Valentine's Day, and really encouraged one another in our love for one another.
I think one of the best Valentine's Days I've had in recent memory would be just a couple of years ago when my wife and I had the day off, and we went for a walk in the snow-covered landscape of the Rocky Mountains here where we live. It was awesome. It was just the two of us. I have no clue what happened outside of that walk, but it was really special to be out in the beauty of God's creation, time with her hand in hand, as we just enjoyed doing nothing but being together.
He had blue rope lights around and a fireplace on the TV, and he had arranged for childcare with my parents with our 3 little ones, and just went over the top with sauces and chocolate dipping things, and I was so surprised. And it wasn't necessarily the meal as much as it was the intentionality, because we'd been disconnected and busy and in the chaos of kids, and it was the best Valentine's Day.
I can't match what she puts into it. She just really makes me feel loved, and I enjoy it. And I see it as just a great opportunity to let my daughters know how much I love them. I don't have any sons, 3 daughters, and how much God loves them. So I always take the opportunity to do that on Valentine's Day.
So I don't want to throw any husbands under the bus, but I'm the daughter of 2 parents who owned a flower shop for a number of years. There were husbands who would come in at the 11th hour, and my mom's name is Janine. Janine, you gotta help me. My wife's gonna kill me. I forgot about Valentine's Day.
Early in our marriage, I didn't understand Mary Jo's family culture. In her family, when you're given a gift, it's expected and understood that you have a receipt handy for that gift, because the person receiving the gift might want to take it back and exchange it for something else that they would like better.
You know, a couple years ago, I was making some steaks for Valentine's Day for my girlfriend at the time. And, you know, I pride myself in my cooking. I'm a good cook. You know, at least I think I am. And we had just started dating, so we weren't really too comfortable with telling each other the truth. So when I presented her a burnt chart of disgusting steak that I had destroyed, she was like, "Oh, this is great," you know, and I knew it was horrible, but I didn't know what to say to her. But it was a good Valentine's Day story because, you know, that girlfriend is now my wife, so it all worked out in the end.
It was just hilarious to hear them talk about these desperate men at the end of the day, help me make my wife feel special. And I don't know what it is about my mom, because I saw her later in life. She was an assistant for some executives at a company, and the husbands, her bosses, would say, "Hey, can you do the shopping for my wife?" And so again, the two sides of it, the comical desperation, or I can't screw this up, can you do it for me? But also this sadness of either I'm not going to put the time in to be intentional with my wife, or I've been so busy that I've forgotten. And there's a tragedy to it in the midst of the comical nature of all of it.
So as a pastor's wife, one of the things I know through the years that we've been in ministry is that a lot of attention and focus was on our people in the congregation. There were times when it would feel like I was not as important. So maybe I would just encourage pastors to make sure you don't forget that your wife's really important and make sure she knows it.
It took me several years to get used to the idea that I'd buy Mary Jo something like a piece of clothing or an item that I think she'll really like, that she would sort of be ho-hum, and her first response was, "You do have the receipt for that, don't you?"
I think I've done okay on Valentine's Day. I have failed on other special occasions, and unfortunately, yeah, I've taken very good notes when that's happened. I keep them always tucked away because I don't want to do that again.
My boyfriend lives in California, so for Valentine's Day last year, he sent me this little panda bear because that's a running theme in our relationship. And then I went to Tennessee to visit my brother, freaked out because I had a bunch of bug bites when I came back, and ended up washing everything in my room, including that little panda bear. And it lost all of its fluffiness, so he had to buy me a new one, because I freaked out about a bunch of bugs that didn't exist. So that's a fun one.
And I'm like, "Well, I got this for, you know, what do you mean?" And she would take the item back and get something completely different. And it took me a while to appreciate that that was still a score, that there was still a good thing. But I had a hard time with that for a while.
I think one of the worst Valentine's Days we ever had was actually at a marriage conference. And we went, and there was, well, I'll just call it high expectations for a date night. And I said something, and to this day I regret it deeply, but it was a hurtful comment to my wife. She kind of teed up a bid for connection, as it might be put, and it didn't work. I slapped it down. I ruined the night, and we went home feeling kind of defeated after that. It was not my high water moment. It was a pretty low moment for us.
Oh, hey, there's that girlfriend I made that burnt steak for.
Oh, okay.
My now wife. Look at that.
She's got to come listen to this.
Yeah.